Before she was America's sharpest mind in comedy, before Mean Girls, 30 Rock, or that uncanny Sarah Palin impression, there was a quiet, bookish girl from Pennsylvania who learned early that laughter could be armor. In a world where women were often told to smile, she chose to make people laugh, not to please, but to provoke. Her jokes were knives wrapped in silk, her intelligence a force that both disarmed and redefined comedy. But behind the applause and Emmys, Tina Fey's story isn't just about success. It's about fear, pressure, burnout, and the invisible scars that shaped her voice. She faced a world that didn't always welcome women with opinions, let alone women who could outthink the room. So how did this shy daughter of a Greek-American family become one of the most powerful voices in modern entertainment? And what did it cost her to make smart the new face of funny? This is the story of courage hidden beneath sarcasm, and a woman who turned wit into her weapon, laughter into legacy. This is Tina Fey. Tina Fey was born Elizabeth Stemma Tina Fey on May 18, 1970, in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, a quiet suburb outside Philadelphia. Her childhood was ordinary on the surface, yet deeply formative beneath it. Her father, Donald, a Korean War veteran and writer for a university, taught her the value of discipline and language. Her mother, Jeanne, a gentle yet witty woman, filled their home with books, laughter, and Greek warmth. As a child, Tina was observant, the kind of kid who noticed everything but said little. She devoured comedy albums, adored Monty Python, and spent hours watching reruns of The Mary Tyler Moore Show. But one event would mark her forever. When she was just 5 years old, a stranger slashed her face while she played in her front yard. The scar, faint but visible, became a lifelong companion. For years, she never spoke publicly about it. Instead, she developed something else: humor as a shield. Jokes became her way to control a world that once frightened her. She didn't use comedy to escape pain. She used it to own it. Her teachers described her as brilliant but quiet. Her classmates remembered her as the girl who could deliver one perfect line that left everyone in stitches. By high school, she was writing skits, performing in plays, and secretly dreaming of Saturday Night Live. But in a small Pennsylvania town, that dream seemed galaxies away. Tina Fey would need more than talent to reach it. She would need wit sharper than any weapon, and the courage to turn pain into punchlines. After high school, Tina Fey left her quiet Pennsylvania world for the University of Virginia, where she majored in drama and English. She wasn't the loudest in the room, but she was the sharpest. While others chased fame, Tina chased words, crafting stories, analyzing characters, and studying what made people laugh. After graduation, she moved to Chicago, a city that pulsed with creativity and risk. There, she auditioned for the Second City, the legendary improv theater that birthed stars like Bill Murray, John Belushi, and Gilda Radner. The first time she stepped on that small, smoky stage, she felt it. This was home. Chicago was brutal but honest. The nights were long, the audiences unpredictable. Tina worked at the box office by day and wrote sketches by night, refining her voice. Intelligent, feminist, razor-edged. It was here she met Amy Poehler, another young comedian with boundless energy and fearlessness. Together, they began a friendship and creative partnership that would later redefine comedy for women. Her big break came not from acting, but from writing. Saturday Night Live noticed her sharp, fearless humor and hired her as a writer in 1997, a huge leap for someone who had only dreamed of seeing the show live. But soon, Tina did more than write jokes. She changed the tone of SNL. In 1999, she became the show's first female head writer in history. Week after week, her sketches pushed boundaries: smart, topical, feminist, and unapologetically sharp. The shy girl from Pennsylvania had just entered one of the toughest rooms in television, and she was about to take over. Once Tina Fey took charge of Saturday Night Live's writing room, something shifted. The sketches grew sharper, the punchlines bolder, and the humor more intelligent. She wasn't just writing jokes, she was rewriting what comedy could be. In 2000, she stepped in front of the camera as co-anchor of Weekend Update, turning political satire into appointment television. Her chemistry with Jimmy Fallon was effortless, but it was her tone, witty, biting, unapologetically smart, that captivated audiences. For the first time, millions of Americans were seeing a woman leading late-night comedy with intellect, not charm. Then came Mean Girls, 2004. Written by Fey and inspired by the book Queen Bees and Wannabes, it wasn't just another teen movie. It was a social mirror. Sharp, quotable, and painfully true, it became a global phenomenon. Lines like, "On Wednesdays we wear pink," entered pop culture forever, proving that Tina's humor could shape generations. But she wasn't done. In 2006, she created and starred in 30 Rock, a behind-the-scenes satire of a fictional sketch show that was really about SNL itself. Critics called it too smart for TV, and yet it won multiple Emmys, including Best Comedy Series. Her character, Liz Lemon, became the face of every overworked, underappreciated creative woman trying to survive in chaos. Then, in 2008, she delivered a masterstroke, her legendary impersonation of Sarah Palin. With one wink and one line, "I can see Russia from my house," she turned political comedy into a cultural earthquake. By now, Tina Fey wasn't just a writer or comedian. She was a force, shaping how America thought, laughed, and even voted. She had reached the peak of her fame. But behind the laughter and the legacy, something else was building. Exhaustion, pressure, and the quiet fear of losing herself to the empire she had built. For Tina Fey, fame didn't come with paparazzi chases or public meltdowns. Her scandals were quieter, internal, invisible, but just as consuming. By the late 2000s, 30 Rock had turned into both her triumph and her trap. She was the show's writer, producer, and star, carrying it on her shoulders week after week. Every joke had to land, every episode had to sparkle. While the world laughed, Tina was barely sleeping, running on caffeine and deadlines. Behind the camera, the stress began to show. She spoke openly later about panic attacks, anxiety, and the pressure of being the woman who made it. In interviews, she joked about exhaustion, but the humor barely hid the cracks. Comedy had always been her armor, but now it felt like a cage. Then came criticism, not from tabloids, but from within the cultural conversation. Some accused 30 Rock of lacking diversity, of being elitist or too clever for its own good. Others claimed her brand of satire was detached from real-world struggles. For someone who had built a career on empathy and intelligence, it stung deeply. Still, Tina refused to respond with outrage. She addressed it the only way she knew how, through humor, self-awareness, and growth. She learned to listen, to evolve, to turn critique into craft. There was no dramatic downfall, no scandal headline. Only a woman realizing that even success could burn you from the inside out. As 30 Rock neared its end, Tina stood at a crossroads. The world still adored her, but she was asking herself a question far deeper than fame. What happens when laughter stops being fun? When 30 Rock ended in 2013, Tina Fey could have walked away. She had Emmys, fame, and a permanent seat in comedy history. But instead of chasing more, she chose to redefine what success meant. Her comeback didn't arrive in the form of a new character or another award show. It came through writing herself back to peace. In 2011, her memoir Bossy Pants became an international bestseller. Beneath its sharp wit and deadpan humor lay a vulnerable honesty. She wrote about motherhood, anxiety, sexism, and survival in an industry built for men. It was fearless and healing. Then came Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, a Netflix comedy that she co-created. The show's quirky optimism, a woman rebuilding her life after years in captivity, mirrored Tina's own emotional rebirth. It was her way of proving that joy, not cynicism, could still drive great storytelling. Off-screen, she found grounding in her family life with her husband, composer Jeff Richmond, and their 2 daughters. She began to speak more openly about balance, how creativity means nothing if you're too tired. To feel it, her longtime friendship and partnership, with Amy Poehler blossomed again as the two embarked on a comedy tour, not as rivals or icons, but as women celebrating endurance and sisterhood. Tina had once built her world on being the smartest person in the room. Now she was learning the art of simply being present. The woman who made the world laugh was finally learning to laugh again, this time for herself. Few comedians have reshaped American humor the way Tina Fey did. Her fingerprints are everywhere, from the dry, whip-smart tone of The Office to the absurd brilliance of Parks and Recreation to the layered satire of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She didn't just influence shows, she influenced a generation's sense of humor. Tina opened the door for women in writers' rooms that had long been fortresses of male voices. She proved that funny didn't have a gender. Intelligence, timing, and courage did. Every sharp one-liner delivered by a woman on TV today carries a trace of her defiance. Her leadership at Saturday Night Live transformed the show's DNA. She brought empathy to satire, showing that comedy could cut deep without cruelty. Writers admired her precision, actors admired her discipline, and audiences adored how she turned pain into punchlines with honesty and heart. Mean Girls continues to live on, not just as a movie, but as a cultural mirror, a Broadway musical, and a language of its own. Few writers have created work that feels timeless and relevant across decades. Tina did it by understanding the truth at comedy's core. We laugh hardest when we recognize ourselves. In a business obsessed with fame, she built something rarer: influence. Not by shouting, but by writing. Not by conquering, but by changing the rules of the game. Away from the lights of television studios and red carpets, Tina Fey has built a life rooted in balance, something far more meaningful than applause. She often describes herself, with typical modesty, as a working mom who happens to write jokes. But behind that self-deprecating grin lies wisdom earned through exhaustion, failure, and persistence. At home in New York, she leads a quieter existence with her husband, Jeff Richmond, and their two daughters. The same woman who once juggled 15-hour days now finds joy in simple moments, walking her kids to school, cooking dinner, or disappearing into a book. The chaos that once defined her has become harmony. Her reflections on success are strikingly humble. "You can't be that kid standing at the top of the water slide overthinking it," she once said. "You have to go down the chute." It's a metaphor not just for courage, but for letting go, trusting the ride, and accepting imperfection. Fey has also embraced mentorship, quietly supporting young female comedians, writers, and producers. She knows that legacy isn't about statues or speeches. It's about leaving the door open for others to walk through. For a woman who built her empire on laughter, Tina Fey has discovered a deeper truth: that peace is the greatest punchline of all. Tina Fey's story isn't just about fame or comedy. It's about resilience, reinvention, and the courage to stay authentic in a world built on performance. She began as a shy girl with a scar, unsure of where she fit in. But through sharp wit and sharper honesty, she transformed every wound into wisdom, every fear into laughter. Her journey reminds us that humor is not the opposite of pain. It's a response to it. Every time she wrote a line that made the world laugh, she was quietly saying, "You're not alone in your chaos." From Mean Girls to 30 Rock, from sketch shows to memoirs, Tina Fey used her voice to make intelligence entertaining and kindness powerful. She didn't chase fame, she built meaning, and in the end, perhaps that's her greatest gift. She showed us that it's okay to laugh at life, even when it's hard, because laughter, when born from truth, becomes something eternal. This was the story of Tina Fey, the woman who made smart funny and turned comedy into courage.